to Legal Bites with Vaquill. I am Arshita, founder of Vaquill. We are India's first multilingual legal information site because legal help should not be constrained only to English and Hindi. I'm also a legal mentor and I have coached 300 plus students so far in their law journey and a legal freelancer working with national and international clients. Today, we have Justin Turnman, a former corporate lawyer of 10 years, turned legal tech entrepreneur. He founded Automate Office Work, helping lawyers and firms automate routine legal processes. We will talk about his journey and how legal automation can transform the way we work. Justin, let's start with your story. You spent nearly a decade as a corporate lawyer, right? What made you decide to transition from practicing law to building technology for lawyers and start automate office work?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for having me. And it's a pleasure to be here. I'm an American lawyer, so I had to study not just law, but I had to study something else for 4 years before studying law. And the something else that I studied was computers and languages. I studied many languages and I speak many languages. I studied how language works in general. So you combine that with computers and it really just gives me a different set of skills when I'm doing my legal work. I'm not just looking at the legal work that you give me. I'm looking at how does this language work? How can I make it better? And then how can I apply computers to it so that maybe you ask me like, can you do an NDA? So I will do an NDA like once or twice, and then I will make a system or a tool that does all possible NDAs. So I never have to do them again. So I just automate every single thing that I do. So I started doing this when I was an in-house counsel. I was a lawyer working in a US corporation. And I did this for about 10 years. And I was acting as a consultant basically to all of the lawyers in my department. I was in a department with about 400 people. So I did that for 10 years, and then I decided I wanted to start my own company. I didn't want to be just inside one company.
Oh, that's great. So, when you talk about NDAs, let's say if you were to automate it, what my understanding is that I can automate probably a template, right? But the moment that you want to put in like different contexts, different party names, etc., it does not become automated in that sense, right? So how do you channelize that? How do you automate that?
Yeah, so actually there's a broader question that you have to answer first, and that is, do we already have an NDA that applies? If we do, you don't need to create an NDA. Oftentimes, it's the business that is coming and asking you to make another NDA. Oftentimes, the legal department does not have the repository of NDAs that exist. So we have to advise them. You need to store your NDAs. You need to keep them in a way that you can look them up, that you can be easily able to see the scope. Like, how big is this NDA? Does it only apply to something very narrow? Or did we make it big enough that we can use it in the future? So yeah, you've got a couple of things right here. Make your business, store them in a way that they can look it up. Also, you should be writing your NDAs with the future in mind. Possibly make it so they're wide in scope so you can use them later, right? So yeah, that's before the people ever come to me, they should have a kind of a workflow where the very first question is, do we actually need this NDA? Is there already an NDA that applies?
Makes sense. Makes sense. So, so since you were a corporate lawyer, do you think, like right now, I believe that all your tools that you have made so far, those are mostly coding related or not coding related, but like somewhere in automation sector, right? Something what an engineer would do. But do you think that your time as a lawyer has shaped the way that you have designed your tools?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, if like for example, I did see our IT department would approach lawyers in our department, and the IT would say, look, we're going to make an automated workflow that does all of this type of contract. Legal is only one small part. There's many, many steps before and many, many steps after. Oftentimes there's like an entire, like a sales deal that needs to be done. Legal, we like to think that we are so important and we're like the biggest part. Actually, no, we're usually not. We're usually like an afterthought, and it's just kind of a formality. There's so much other stuff. And so the IT goes through all of these different departments. Like when you make an offer to a customer, oftentimes there are discounts involved. And how do you calculate these discounts? Oftentimes it's the history of the relationship with the customer. Oftentimes they've bought things in the past. So the business has to look up this whole history, right? So there's so much of this that can be automated, and IT does it. They go through step by step, they connect to all the different databases, and then it comes time for legal to make the paper document to formalize this. And so IT comes to the lawyer and they say, okay, we've automated everything else. Now we have this one part where it comes to legal. Legal, how do you generate a contract? And I kid you not, the lawyer has no imagination. All they know is manual work with Outlook and Word. And they say to IT, I draft the contract. I don't generate the contract, I draft it. And then IT says, great, what does it mean to draft? And then the lawyer says, drafting is so complex and mysterious, I can never describe it in human words. And IT goes, okay, I guess we can't automate that part. We will leave that a manual step. And I'm listening to this, right? And I go, time out, Mr. Lawyer or Mrs. Lawyer, I know exactly what you do. You're taking a template and you're taking data points and you're copying and pasting in the data points. Is that right? And the lawyer says, yeah, that's exactly what I do. And I'm like, you call it drafting. You could easily describe this to IT. You know, this is manual steps. And then I asked the lawyer, do you want to keep doing this manually, or do you actually enjoy this? It makes you feel special and you're using your law degree. And the lawyer says, no, I hate this. I don't want to ever do it again. And I'm like, so why don't you describe it? And it's like, yeah, you need to have a person like myself who kind of knows both languages. Yeah, it is a mindset. It's an imagination. Yeah.
Makes sense. I think corporate firms are also incentivized to not use it, probably because they can put it in their billable hours, right? That's my personal belief. I don't know what exactly is going on out there, but if I could put in billable hours, why wouldn't anyone, right? So probably that's the reason. But I believe that your first tool was while you were as a corporate lawyer, right?
Yes.
What was the first tool that you made?
It was a contracts repository, because we did not have one, or like we had one, but it didn't work. It was never set up. So yeah, I was in a company with many billions of dollars in revenue, and I couldn't find any of my contracts. I would create a contract, I would email it to the business, and like I said, we expected the business to save the contract somewhere, but we never told them to. And so we expected that they owned their contracts. They expected legal should have a copy of the contract. So every single time they would ask me to amend an existing contract, I would say, great, send me the original contract, because I can't amend something I can't see, right? And they would very often respond. They would say, don't you have it? No, I don't. I don't keep contracts. You're supposed to. And they're like, what? So we would spend like, how long do you spend looking for something that you don't even know if it exists, right? So usually we would be looking for something for like 2 weeks, and then we would give up, or we would oftentimes the sales would find the original contract and it was not signed. Like, oops. So how do I amend something that was never signed? So I had this all the time. So finally, I just created my own repository, and I looked to see what kind of tools do I have available to me. It was Microsoft Office. So I started looking at SharePoint, like what can I get SharePoint to do? I created a really nice interface inside of SharePoint, but that is not where I actually wanted my interface to be. I wanted the interface to be inside of Outlook, because Outlook is where I was always triggered with my requests. I would receive an email. And so I can show this. I do have.
Yeah, that would be great.
All right, share my screen. Share the entire screen. All right. Do you see my screen?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. All right. So I will close this. So this is, I'm in Outlook, and I have an email open that I have received from anybody. This is just some kind of an email from Microsoft. And I have a button up here. It's called Contracts in the top right button, in the top right corner. And when I click this, I installed this button myself. I coded the button. And when I click on it, it opens this panel on the right. This panel on the right is actually a web page from my SharePoint. So I can actually go to a SharePoint page that looks exactly like this, or I can see the same data inside of Outlook. And imagine I receive an email from somebody. They're asking me to review something or generate something. I want a record of this request immediately. I do not want to have different versions of different documents. I don't want to be emailing different versions to like 20 different people, because even if I do get 20 different people reviewing and making edits, when they email those 20 versions to me, I then have to align them. So the best thing for me to do is to come here and I create a new matter immediately. When I click on create new matter, there is some metadata that I want to know. And we might know most of this metadata from the beginning, or it might change throughout negotiations. It might change at the very, very end, like the start date. We might not know the start date until like the day of the signature or whatever. But this is the 10 pieces of metadata that I always wanted to know. I wanted to know the status of my contract. I wanted to know who in the business owned this contract, who in legal worked on the contract. These two things you cannot tell by looking at a contract. There's usually no lawyer's name. AI cannot extract this. So these are the three things. There's actually little asterisks or stars next to these three. These three things I need to know from the very beginning. I need to know what is the status. What stage are we at in creating this contract? Are we at the very beginning? Are we at the very end? Like, because then that determines for my tools, like, what do I need to do next? We need to know where we are. And if there's somebody who needs to do something that, like the contract owner, the business, or the person in legal, we need to know who these people are, because then the tool can send them an email, like reminders, alerts, or whatever, and tell them to do the next thing. But yeah, I have each of these metadata pieces. And when I click on, say, like countries involved, I have a list of regions. So like I have Europe plus. If I click on this, it expands and I have several countries. So you see I have Europe checked automatically. If I say Austria and Belgium, you notice Europe is checked. So I can always then do a filter in the future and say, show me all of my contracts for Europe. And Europe is checked, so I've got it tagged. Or I could say, show me all the contracts for Austria, and it will show me them. So I've got some really good metadata here. And when I click on create matter, it creates a new folder on my SharePoint. And I'm actually going to go to search matters. I can search off of all of that metadata, but I'm going to just search off of nothing. I'm going to show you, this is the most recent matter that I worked on. Let's do this one. All right. So I've got, it automatically starts creating this metadata. It says unknown type because I didn't put what type of contract this is yet. If I did, it would tell me the contract type. If I put the name of the company, it would also put that up there. And if I put the start date, it would put the year up there. So it would say like NDA, Acme Company, 2025. So automatically it creates like a contract title up there as we put in the metadata. Now you notice I have a files section here. And if I click on this, it expands. I have a whole bunch of files that I've been working on in the past. I've got like, please review. This is actually the email, the original email that this person sent me. What I did was I clicked on this plus sign. I click on new file. And I've got several places I can take a file from. But you see, there's this from email. Because we have an email that's open, the tool knows the email. It's able to read the contents of the email. It's able to look at the attached files as well. So if I click on from email, it would give me a list of the attachments that are attached to the email. And I could just click on them and add them immediately. There's no downloading and then uploading. And also, I don't have any attachments on this file, but it says here there's a button, upload email as PDF. If I click this, it takes my entire email, converts it to PDF, and uploads it to this folder. And that is an example right here, please review.pdf. Please review was the subject of an email. So you see, we can easily take files. You've got the background files. You put them in the cloud immediately. We are not storing files on my local laptop. I need those files to be in a place that everybody can see them immediately. And then when I'm emailing this person back to say, hey, here's your contract, I don't attach these files. What I do is I send them a URL to the actual thing. So down at the bottom, I've got this unique number where my mouse is. It says 52. If I click on this, it copies a URL. And when I do reply, do you want to download? Yeah, whatever. Can I start an email? Okay. If I do Control V, it gives, there's the URL to my SharePoint. So this business person, I do not expect them to have a button installed in Outlook, but if they were to click on this, it opens SharePoint and it opens up a page that looks almost the exact same. Instead of being in a little panel, it's an entire web page. And they can see the files there. There's no need for me to email them files. They can always see the latest. We have a single file that is being worked on. So if I ever make updates to the file in the future, when they go to click on it, they always see the live version of the file. Okay. And then also, I ask them in this email, I say, here you go. I'm creating your matter here. In the future, when you ask me questions about this, because oftentimes I will like generate a contract, give it to them to go get signed, and then I don't hear from them. Maybe 6 months later, they come back and they say, oh, the other company, they want to change the governing law. And I'm like, what company? I don't know. Like this was 6 months ago. I don't remember working on this, right? So if they email me back and there's this this URL, maybe I can just here send it to myself. Oh, I guess I didn't. I sent it to Microsoft. I didn't send it to myself. Let's do a new email then. Possibly send it to myself. Justin. Here's that URL request. And you imagine I type in here, here's your contract. Always include this URL in future emails. I email that to myself. Hopefully I'll get it back quick. I wonder if I can also just look up in sent items. Yeah, so if I'm looking at this email and if I click on this contracts button now, it reads the contents of my email. And you notice it immediately put up, this is my contract. Unknown type. Yeah, I didn't specify the business owner or the business owner, it does say Justin. Legal person, it does say Justin. The pencil means that we're still working on it. That's the status of it. Mm-hmm. So I can click on this and you see within one click, okay, here's 2 clicks, I have the files open. Within 3 clicks, I can have a Microsoft DocX open, even if it's 6 months later. You see how how useful this is. Instead of,
It
remember
is.
at the beginning, I was talking about looking for things for 2 weeks. That 2 weeks is gone. Now it's 3 clicks. So yeah,
All these files are associated with that link, right? So wherever there is this link present in the mail, I can see all the documents attached to it, right?
so I will open. Let's see. I need to get a Chrome browser. I copied the link that was in the email and I pasted it in here. I press enter and it goes to my SharePoint. So here is a SharePoint page. This is a web page that the business person would be able to see. They can click on files. I can also lock this down. So like, let's say we're at a stage where legal is editing these documents. I don't want the business person to be able to edit the documents, but yes, they can read them. So with SharePoint, you can specify use like viewing rights versus edit rights. So we can lock this down. I can also lock it down for confidentiality. And I did get this question all the time. Who can open these contracts? Because we don't want everybody in the business to be able to open a contract. There might be some confidential things in a contract. So what I did was I told SharePoint, lock it down so nobody can open these files, except if you are in the legal department. If you're in the legal department, you can open any document. Or if you are specified as the business owner. And the business owner, we have that. We have this metadata of this business lead. So that person can also open it. And so what this did, I'll go to this contracts portal at the front. We put a search right here. I often got requests for like the same type of company and the same contract type. Like I was asked at least 5 times to create a master agreement for FedEx. And I always thought, why am I making a 5th one? There's already master agreements. I already made at least 4. And not just me, I'm sure that every other lawyer has been asked to make a master agreement for FedEx. But the problem is nobody can find. We can't search. So I made it so that there's this search button here. Anybody in the business can click on search. And then you can search by the metadata. One of the metadata points is the name of the company. So anybody in the company can search. When I said that we lock down the files for confidentiality, the files are locked down, but the metadata is visible by anybody. You see how useful this is now?
It
and
is.
just like I said with NDAs, yeah.
The better use case for this is probably in terms of confidentiality, like if like the place where I work, the place is extremely confidential. So to the extent that we cannot upload any file on AI as well, that like because of the discrepancies there is with respect to confidentiality. I think in that sense, this automation would work a lot well than any other AI, right? So from what I understand is that all these metadata, this is something that has been populated by you. Is it correct?
Yes, and then it's changed. Like as I'm creating the contract, maybe the metadata changes and I have to update it. So you notice we are getting the metadata while we are generating. This then makes it so you don't need AI in the future to look at the contract. You don't need to extract the metadata. We already have it because the humans have done it. Oftentimes language is ambiguous. Or you might even ask the question, which lawyer worked on this contract? You can't tell. AI cannot tell you just by reading the contract who the lawyer was.
Okay, makes sense. But so this is something that would come up when we are talking about contracts, when we are dealing with contracts. But apart from this, is there any other tool that we can discuss that probably would be very useful to someone who is like just starting as a lawyer or probably a very small sized law firm?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm a lawyer. Most of my experience is in corporations. It's working with many departments. It's working with sales. It's yeah, it's not actually in law firms, but I can imagine that lawyers also will have, they receive the same questions. A lot of times we receive questions like there's a paragraph, a clause, and what are the allowed changes? What is the fallback language? I got these questions all the time from salespeople who I wanted them to negotiate their own contract, but they would always come to me. And so I'm going to go to that one. It is at sites/legal. I've got a whole bunch of tools here. One of my tools is playbooks. And so I took our contract and I made it into a web page. And so I gave this link to my salespeople and I told them, if you ever have a question about a specific clause, don't come to me. Go to here and you can click on these tabs to the right. There's purpose, guidance, and legal. The purpose, if you click on this, I wanted to tell them in plain language what this paragraph is doing and its strategy. Like, why is it here? Because they would always ask that question. They would say, I don't understand this complex legal language. It means nothing to me. So the other company and we agreed that we can just throw this paragraph out. And I would say, no, you can't. It's very important. It's doing this strategy, right? So instead of having this conversation every time, just write it once. And then the same thing goes with this other tab, this guidance. Like if there's stuff that's yellow that they need to fill in, you give them guidance how to do it. Or if in negotiation, the other side wants to change the language, what is the allowed language that we can change to? I would just write it here. Oftentimes also, a lot of our changes were not legal language changes. They were changes to finance or logistics. So I would put in here, this is a finance term. Don't come to legal to change it. Go to finance. You know, and so by doing this, we're stopping, our goal was to stop 90% of the emails. Just stop 90% of them. It wasn't to stop all of them. We actually identified some of these issues are too complex to write down. So we identified these complex issues and we said, this is complex, make an appointment with legal. But you see, now that we got rid of 90% of questions, the 10% that are left over, now we can give really good service. Instead of the business having to wait 2 weeks to get a response from legal, they get a response within 2 days. They are much happier. Their deals can be much more successful. You notice that even by teaching them what their contract says, they are more empowered to actually negotiate their contracts. We would oftentimes put in here like, this legal term is not changeable. You know, don't even ask legal because we're going to say no. So instead of them sending an email to legal during negotiations, they would just say to the other side, you know, I already know legal will say no. So we're empowering them to push back. We would also tell them like, yes, this is technically changeable, but it's so complex. It's going to require us to meet with regulatory and tax, and it's going to take months for us to make this change. So they would know this in the negotiation, and they would say that to the other side. They would say, "Hey guys, we could go make this change, but it's gonna delay the deal by months." And then the other side, you know what they say? Okay, let's just keep it the way it is. So you see, like, this isn't rocket science. This isn't AI. It's not a huge amount of technology. You're just putting the basics in place. And we used what we had. Yeah. So yeah, we got rid of like 90% of emails. I could find all of my documents. Everybody knew where everything was. Yeah, it's beautiful. I've got so many of these too.
This looks like a very useful tool to me. I think This is something that personally I have also felt a lot of difficulty with, because when I work with my clients, there are n number of clauses that they do not understand. So now what starts happening is that either they will ask me tons of questions and I would waste my time explaining all of these clauses to them, or they would just give up and they would just leave, right? Let's just go
Mhm.
ahead with the contract. I don't understand anything, but I have faith in you. We can just sign this contract, which is, again, it's easy for me, but then it's probably not right considering you are the business owner, right? So I personally feel that this would be an extremely useful tool, even for individual lawyers, in my personal opinion. I think if
Mhm.
I was able to send these over to my clients, they would be it probably not with the legal section, but like with the guidance and the other tab. I think it's extremely beneficial for them to know what they are signing in the first place.
Mhm.
But uh, just adding more to it, what advice would you give to lawyers who want to start exploring automation but do not know where to begin? This seems like something that you have built, but it's, again, you are
It is.
someone who already has 10 years of experience. What can I or anyone else who is like very fresh out of college and is just about to start, being in the business, being as a lawyer, what advice would you give to them, like to start exploring automation and when they do not know where to
Yeah.
begin in the first place?
So I would say do not start with technology. Do not start with tools. What you actually need to start with is the problem. You need to know the problem. Like the problem, like for me answering all these emails or whatever, the problem is not emails, right? You could see like, well, a person might think, let's get AI to answer all these emails that people are asking me about contracts. Well, the AI doesn't know the answers. The AI doesn't know my strategy that's in my head. It doesn't know the processes and the approved language that I have. Like it's just going to make stuff up, first of all. And you notice we don't really need AI for this at all. Like my user could just come to this. They don't need to be asking inside a chat bot. So the main thing is to get the content. It is it is for me to really sit down and like think about like what does this mean? What do I want it to do? And I write it out. And my users can easily come to this. And then there is a place for AI. I don't know if you noticed this, but you could actually train AI on this now. And so the user could go to a chat bot, ask a question about one of these paragraphs, and the chat bot could be trained on this and give actual answers. So yeah, the biggest thing is the process and the content. It's not the technology. It's not the delivery. It is, yeah. So I would recommend that you really learn about workflows, about processes, and you need to map out like what is it that we are doing? How do we do this? Not the technology, like yeah, at a very base level. And I do have courses on this. I have my own podcast. I've done several episodes on process. There are at least 5, possibly 6 things that are involved anytime that you map out any kind of a process. Once you get good at this, you can then recognize patterns and you generalize this. Like, like if I was to make a tool like this playbook, a lot of people would think, how do I make a playbook for this one contract? And I'm like, no, 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 no. Don't make a special tool just for one type of contract. Make a tool for all the contracts, right? All contracts are a collection of paragraphs. And then at each paragraph, there's only 2 types of questions, possibly a third. This legal tab that I put in here, it's actually to give advice to other lawyers, because we recognize that, yeah, I'm creating this template, I own it, I know it, but I worked in a department with 400 lawyers. We were all using each other's templates. and we were not experts. I was not an expert in IT, but this was created by an IT lawyer, and then it's used all around the company. So my business person, they might see some advice in here. It says, go ask your lawyer. Well, which lawyer are they going to go to? They're going to come to me because I'm their lawyer. And then they ask me this very specific question about IT. And I'm like, I don't know. I guess I need to send an email to that IT lawyer. And that's another email that we want to stop. So we put this legal tab in here so that the IT lawyer could teach me, another lawyer, very, very quickly. Because lawyers don't know everything, but we want to look like we do. So we made it possible. We hide this from the business. But yeah.
Makes sense. But then one thing that is bothering me so far is that if I had to how do you even identify which task that you would automate first? I understand that mails is something that, it's intuitive that you will have to probably automate that. But apart from that, how would you even identify that which task would you automate?
Yeah. So I have 2 tools that I have created. Oh, well, I've created over 60 of these to automate everything that I did. And I have identified 2 that I work with clients a lot, because clients ask the same question. What is the easiest thing that we can do that will have the biggest impact? We want to start with something right now. And I tell them the number one thing that you need to do to get started is intake. Okay. So most people are receiving requests by email. Somebody wants you to do something. So email is so easy. You just open Outlook, open a new email. You type something. I compare it to like word salad. You're typing something. I don't even know what I want, right? Like I'm just emailing it to a lawyer. They should know what I want. Yeah, they don't know what I want, but I don't know how to ask. I don't know the data points that they need. So maybe I just write and I say, hi, I'm Justin. I need help. Send. And then the lawyer receives it and they're like, I have no idea how to help you. You need to tell me what kind of help you need. Oh, I need a contract. Okay, what type of contract? Well, I'm selling some. Okay, it's a sales contract. What are you selling? Oh, I'm selling this one thing. Okay, where? I'm selling it in France. Okay, we have a template for selling things in France. And according to our template, we have these data points that need to go into it. Tell me the start date, tell me the province, tell me whatever, tell me if there's personal data or whatever you need to know. So you notice that this email conversation going back and forth can take up to weeks. Also, a lot of emails, the person doesn't even know who to email. They email just a random lawyer that they heard about or that they know. Oftentimes that lawyer doesn't even work for the company anymore. They're gone. So a person sends an email and they don't even know that nobody received it. And then there's no record of the request. And then oftentimes the requester forgets. And then it's like 6 months later, and then they think, oh yeah, I asked legal to do. So you see how like this is a really bad system, just using email. So even once it does get to me, it doesn't have the data points. I need to discuss with them for weeks and weeks until I finally get the data points. So what I did was I created, maybe I can show it. I did intake. Let's see if this version works. Yeah. Okay. So I have a platform here on SharePoint. It's called my intake platform. Anybody can create a new intake form. Just think through, when you get a certain kind of request, what are all the data points that you need? There might be a little decision tree. Like if, like you might say, do you want vanilla or chocolate? If you want chocolate, what type of chocolate. So you see how there's a condition kind of here. If you say yes in a certain way, then I'm going to have additional questions. Instead of me having to do that with you, I can just put it into a form. So I've got an example form here. I go to this. Think about then your user. Your user can go through and they can pick like orange and red. You might say, I want the user to pick other things like, okay, I'm going to put in white. So, okay, they got orange, red, and white. What date do you want? A lot of times people don't know the date. They're just like, well, you tell me the date. And I'm like, I don't care. Just give me the date. So instead of letting them type in, I don't know, you give them a date picker. They have to pick a date. So you notice we're getting the exact data points. I'm not just going to let you type like orange or red because you might misspell the word orange or you might come up with your own colors. I don't know, but so you're making it very easy for them. And you notice I cannot submit. The submit button is grayed out because I haven't filled in the form completely. Here's a place for an email address. Oftentimes we ask a person, like, give us a name of a person. People's names are not unique. Like in English, you could say a person's name is John Smith. There are so many John Smiths in the different companies, right? Which one? So you cannot just type a name. Instead, this is asking for an email address. And as I type, I did the letter J, and it shows me the email addresses that match. This is taken from the Outlook address book. So I am getting exact data points of people, unique identifiers to identify them. Okay, we can ask for a PDF to upload. They have to upload at least one. Let's see if I got any PDFs. Okay, I got a PDF there. Multiple choice, it's asking for a country. And countries, there's like hundreds of countries. So what I have is I have a list of countries from an Excel spreadsheet. And then I use that list across all of my forms because I don't want to be typing out that huge list of countries for all of my forms. So we have an external a list of data, and then we can use it across all of the forms. And then when there is a new country that is created by the UN or whoever creates countries, we can go edit the Excel spreadsheet once. And then the list of countries, it's updated across all of the different forms that use it. So I'm going to start typing INDIA, and I got India. Okay. And you can also let the people type in something custom. So here I did decide, yeah, let's let them type in whatever. So if there's a new country or you might even say like the Vatican, maybe that's a country to some people or not to others. But it's not on my list, but if I press enter now, it's added as a country. So I'm allowing my users to give in custom stuff. But if it's on the list, I want them to give the exact name. So we're getting consistency and allowing flexibility at the same time. But you notice I did this with intention. I'm going to go through, yeah, there's numbers. You pick a season. If I say other, I still have to type in what is other. Here's a spreadsheet of data. So don't just upload your spreadsheet because I don't want to manually take your data from your spreadsheet and like paste it into Word. Instead, they can upload a spreadsheet or they can manually type it in. And here's ideas summary. Okay, so I got just a huge bunch of stuff, and I'm getting the data points. I'm not getting the spreadsheet. I'm getting the data from the spreadsheet. And yeah, we're getting closer to the end. There's a question here. Do you like this tool? By default, it says no. And you notice my submit button is blue. I can now submit this. But if I say yes, I got an additional question. Yes, I like this tool. And then it asks, well, what do you like about this tool? And you notice the submit button, it's not submittable anymore because I have an additional question. So you can customize this experience. And I put in whatever. I just need at least 10 characters. So I got that. When I submit this, all of the data gets put onto SharePoint. It creates a unique URL. The team that reviews these forms is notified. and the requester is given the new URL that they can go to, and they can always see the current where this request stands. So, okay, I got this unique thing. I'm going to go to it. And also imagine I'm on the reviewing team, because I am. I come here and this is read only. I can review this form. I can't make any changes, but I can see exactly how they filled it in. I can download this PDF and look at it. I got all of this. And down at the very bottom, there's a section for subscribers. This is now in an official request place. And you notice this is for any kind of request. You want to stop emails, you just put in a form. Any kind of form for anything. And if anybody wants to be notified when there's an update, they just come here and they would click, this button would say subscribe if I was not associated with it yet. I am associated with it because I submitted it. Of course, I'm going to be alerted when there's changes. And what is a change? A change is down here in this history section. There's comments and setting status. So I can let's say I'm going to change the status. I'm going to say more approvals are needed. And I will say, go get tax to approve this. And I can also upload a file if I wanted to. Maybe I will upload just a random file. Ideas summary. Okay, so I've got a spreadsheet there. When I submit this, it is put down into the history log. I've got, this is the date and time when this person submitted it. This is the date and the time when this person set the status to approvals needed. They gave a comment, go get tax to approve this. Here's a file that was attached. So now you see we are not in emails anymore. No more emails. Everything is in an organized place. If the requester wants to know, where are we with this? They don't need to send an email to me asking. They can just look. And you see how I delegated. I assigned them a task. Like, requester, you go get the approvals from tax. I don't want to. I don't need to. You go do it. And also these approvals for tax, if they're doing them all the time, put that as a question in the form. You put a question in the form. Did you get this approved by tax? And they can say yes or no. Another level of this question, you ask who in tax approved this, and they give the email address. Another level, you can say upload evidence that you got this approved from tax, and then they upload a PDF. But a lot of times, legal doesn't know. Legal is not involved in these different approvals. Like, I don't know what approval from tax means. Like, I don't know the right person. I don't know how you need to. All I know is you need to go get it, right? I don't need to know the details because I'm in legal. I'm not in tax, right? So you can structure this in different ways. So we are not the slaves of email. Email is the lazy way of doing things.
It is. And also, I think that if we were to lurk around emails, it's also very messy. And I tend to leave a lot of important information. If I'm bombarded with hundreds of emails, I think I would probably leave one or two information, right? And this makes it extremely easy for me to navigate through all of it. What I personally liked a lot about this entire use case was the extra question feature. I think I would probably adopt it for my company as well. But then the fact that you are forced to tell me what did you actually like in it so that I can improve, probably improve upon it. Or maybe if you did not like something, then maybe I could probably improve on that. That particularly is something that, that would probably make my business better as well. So I would be adopting that. Thanks for that knowledge. But yeah.
I had a client that used this for all their compliance forms. Whenever there's like a conflict of interest or some kind of maybe there's some kind of a registration that needs to be made to the government when there's an incident or something. So it used to be that legal would receive all these emails. The emails would say like, hey, my brother bought this one stock. Do I need to fill out this form and let the government know? And, And so legal was involved in all of these different things. So instead they made a form. Like it would ask like what kind of event do you think causes a conflict of interest? And maybe it would say like a family member has bought stock. And then the next question would be what type of family member? And oftentimes, at least in American culture, a brother is not a close enough relative to cause a conflict of interest. It has to be somebody like you're married to, or someone like you're living in the same house as. If it's my brother, like living on this side of the world, like nobody cares. Like, so we could ask that. They put that in the forms, and yeah, oftentimes they would use this form to even decide, does the form actually need to be submitted? Like oftentimes, like the submit button would just stay gray. And the person would be told, yeah, you don't need to submit this. That's fine. Just don't even submit it. So yeah, legal got rid of so much stuff.
It also reduced a lot of the complaints or the mails that you were getting, right? Unnecessary mails that probably did not even require any intervention, but just because you were sent one, you had to reply. All of this must have been cut down by a lot.
Yeah.
But
So as you're thinking about processes, think about the emails that you're receiving. Oftentimes, there's only two different types of emails. There's the emails where you have to do something. And then there's the other emails like, oh, you just ignore it. Like, oh, there's birthday cake somewhere. Okay, I ignore this. I don't need to do anything with it. But then the emails you do need to do something, there's usually two types of these emails. There's answering a question, like we did with the playbooks. And then there's requests, like we're doing here. If you're answering a question, you need to give them some kind of a system where they can go look up their own question. So you don't have to answer the same question all the time. And if they're asking about a request, like either create a request or where are we with this request, make a system. It's project management, basically.
But
So, think through your workflows.
all of this, pardon?
Think through your workflows. It's not just an email. What are they doing with the email? Oh, they're giving me data. Okay, so make it easy for them to give you data. They don't know what data to give you. I could also say that another thing that we can do with this intake form, now that we all have all these data points, maybe I have a template library, and maybe there's a template that is connected with this form, and I can automatically fill in all the data points from the data on this form, right? So I could then have that at the bottom. Here is the document that was already filled in. So me as a lawyer, I don't need to fill it in. I could just come review what they said, and maybe I can look at the document that was generated.
So if I had to adopt this in, let's say, a small size law firm, how much time would it take for me to set up all of this?
So it takes about, once you're trained in how to like make questions and stuff, my clients say that it takes them about an hour per form. They need to think about, like, what are the data points that we need? What are the possible answers for these things? Is there anything conditional? I often tell them also start simple. Like requests can become very complex very fast, and we often don't think about all the complexity, but maybe just make something really simple. A really simple, like when somebody wants something from you, maybe just make a very general form at first where you ask them, upload the documents that you want me to consider. So, okay, they upload some documents. Another question that we often ask is, what is the deadline for this? When do you need this by? Right there, we got everything out of email. It's now into a permanent system where we will be doing the work. Yeah, start simple. You can always in the future create separate forms that are more detailed. I will go and click on edit. Here, I'm going to click on this form. I'm a form owner, so I can click on this edit button. And in the back end, it's just a bunch of gray boxes. Like this one is for checkboxes. And you can see this is the text. I've got some help text. I don't know if you noticed, but after the question, there was a question mark. And if I clicked on that question mark, I would get a little bit of helpful text, because people like to pretend that they're not very smart. Like, I don't know what this question is asking. Let me email the lawyer. No, I don't want that email. So I give them some help text to train them a little bit. And then these are the options of the colors. I can always add another one like black. I can always rearrange these if I need to. Allow other. That is, remember when I typed in white, I made my own color. So that is right here. Allow other is set to true. I can also turn that off. So now they can't. And then in the place where I was typing a new color, it said add a color. I can also take that away. And by default, it just says add. Also, there's a minimum and maximum. I set it to a minimum of 2 and a maximum of 5. You might say, yeah, there is no maximum. You might also say there is no minimum. But up above here, there is a drop down. It says mandatory. If this is mandatory, of course, they have to pick at least one, even if you put no minimum. So I could also say that this is not mandatory. So now they can just skip this question. They can still submit. But you see, I went through like all these different types. What are the different questions that we ask? There's only like, I think 8 of them. You're asking for a date. You're asking for a person. You're asking for a file. You're asking for a drop down. Pick one out of a drop down. Or you're asking check boxes. Check the ones that apply. So you can pick multiples of them out of check boxes. So yeah, there's not very many types of questions that we ask. And so I actually built a couple of these for very specific projects. And it would take me like 10 hours to build a beautiful user experience. I did it 2 times. And then I thought, we don't need to be building different solutions for different types of requests. The solution, it's going to look the same no matter what. So I built a very general tool and just called it intake. I then also, I offered this to the rest of the company. This isn't just a legal problem. Legal is not the only one struggling with these random emails. It's everybody. Every department has this problem. And they often want to go to IT and say, hey, IT, can you create a new intake, a new request platform for, I don't know, these 30 different types of requests. Now they have 30 different platforms. Nobody wants all these platforms. So yeah, I just built it in a very general way. I built it in SharePoint. So we use what you already have. There's no extra licenses that you have to buy. We're using the technology that you already have, okay? And so I made it very easy. If I go down to the very bottom, there is a drop-down menu, and you can add a new file type or a new question type. If you just want the person to type some stuff in, that's called a text area. I can add it. I don't see why it's not being added for some reason. I've got a bug, possibly. It always happens during demos. But yeah, it's super easy. Within an hour, you can have this. We also allow for very complex kinds of things. Like I had one client, they said, when the user puts a date, I want the date to be within today and 24 hours, or they said 2 days from now, 48 hours from now. If the date is after that or before that, I don't want them to be able to submit, and I want an error message to come up to say, no, that's not allowed. So that kind of complexity, we do it with JavaScript. And I do allow for JavaScript. We've got a window here. You can apply any JavaScript that you want. So you can make any complexity that you want.
This is amazing. Yeah. I never thought that all of this is inbuilt in SharePoint, right? I never thought that I would be able to do something like this without the help of AI tools. Personally, if I had to use one, I would probably go to Emergent or like ChatGPT or Claude, something of that sort. But this is the first time that I'm seeing any lawyer using automation in a way that is like inbuilt in SharePoint. And I think it's the first
Mhm.
use case that I've seen also. But
Oh, thank you.
like for
I had to discover how to do this. Most people don't know how to do this. I figured out how, because most of the time when you go to SharePoint, there's like an interface that looks very much like SharePoint, and people often complain about it. It's not very nice looking. There's like these navigation things everywhere. There's columns of data that I don't want to see. That's not how I want to see it. So I figured out how to make a blank page on SharePoint. And then using code, I put the exact interface that I want you to see. So you have the exact experience. I can make it beautiful. I had to build, in SharePoint, we have these things called web parts. So I built my own web part that allows me to create, to code any experience that I want. Inside the Microsoft environment, it is incredible. SharePoint can do so much, but then there's also other tools like Power BI, and there's a tool called Power Automate that even if there's something that SharePoint can't do, like send an email, for example, I can actually, when the user like types something and then they click, we add an item to a SharePoint list. But then we have an automation in Power Automate that is listening for new items added to that list. And it will take the message that you sent and it will send an email. So if we need to send an email, it's connected to Power Automate.
Could you just spell out Power BI? Did you mean like BNI? I will just put it in the chat box for others to see.
BI.
Or if you could put it in the chat box.
I think it's like business intelligence. Okay, let's need to find this chat box.
Okay, I'll put
Power BI. Yeah, this is a tool that's made by Microsoft that takes complex data and it makes it so you can visualize it as dashboards, as graphs and charts. Yeah, Power Automate is the other one.
So, from what I have seen in other law firms, like everyone is running to adopt some AI tools to, make their work easier. I am also one of them. First of all, I never thought that this would be possible through SharePoint and all. But in terms of like firms adopting this kind of automation, what do you think is the biggest barrier in them adopting it? Like, what are the
you
biggest
can't go
barriers
straight
that
to
you have
AI.
seen?
You can't go straight to AI. If I was to say, let's use AI and it will read my emails and then it will, I don't know, manage the requests. Well, the people sending the email don't know who to email and they don't know what to put in the email. So the AI is going to receive a random email and what's it going to say? I don't have enough information. Well, what is it going to do? Email the person back and say, here, email me that. Like, instead, you could just give the user a form. We don't need email. I don't need to receive your email. The AI doesn't need to receive your email. We need to think through with intention. What are the data points that we need? What are the allowed answers? You write them down. The user okay. I often give this example. Like if you went to McDonald's and they took the menu off the wall and they just gave you like a robot to talk to and you're like, hi, can I see the menu? Like I know that the menu, it's not amazing new technology, but it works. I can easily see what I can order. Show me that. I don't want to talk to a robot to find out the entire menu that exists. Just show me the menu. Right? So using something like this, you're showing your user the menu. At the same time, once you get this, you might notice you could train a chatbot on this. The chatbot, if a person goes to a chatbot and now it says, I need to make a request from legal, the chatbot that can ask, oh, what kind of thing do you need to request? Here's the different things that legal takes as requests. Which one do you want? And we have the menu, right? So you're making a script for AI to follow. I often talk about the AI paradox. And that is, most people think that you can go straight to AI when you can't. You need two things for AI to actually work. You need to know your workflows, like what are the different steps and who does what. We need to know that because the AI can't just make up a workflow. You also need to have organized historic data because AI is not programmed in the traditional way. It's trained. And how do you train the AI? You have to show it organized historic data for it to learn. Most of my clients don't have either of these. The AI does not work. So then they come to me and they say, look, can you help us just get something like basic and simple? So I map out the workflow, what we're doing. The workflow is then automated. And during the steps of automation, we're getting all the data points in an organized, structured way. So then this is running, it does itself. We have beautiful data for reports and all this. 6 months later, I go back to the client and I say, okay, client, you're now ready to go to AI. You have your workflows and you have this organized data. You can train the AI. Are you ready to go to AI now? You can go buy that $1 million thing that does this really interesting stuff. And you know what the client says? The client says, why? What is the point? The workflow is already doing the work in an automated way. We have the organized data. We don't need AI. So this is the AI paradox. AI needs these two things in order for you to be successful. But once you have these two things, you don't need AI. So if you're seeing a lot of people who are trying to jump to AI and they're failing, a lot of times it's not a problem with the technology. It's a problem with the organization. We need to be more disciplined. We need to have our data in order. I have another example that's kind of funny that goes along with this. It has to do with a person. For example, me, I want to lose weight, right? The way to lose weight is to be disciplined, right? You eat better food or you eat less, and then you exercise, you go to the gym. But this requires discipline. Most people do not want the discipline. They want the quick, easy fix, right? So I went to a clinic in my town, and they offered a laser that will heat up the muscles in your legs, because those are the biggest muscles in your body, are the legs. So they will heat up the muscle in my legs and it will burn the fat. But they said, there's two things you have to do for this to actually work. You need to go on a massive diet for 2 months. You can have no carbs, no carbohydrates. And you also need to go to the gym 2 hours every day, and you need to work out your legs because we're stimulating the muscles. Now you need to actually use the muscles. So I thought, this is great. I went home and I told my wife, hey, there's this laser that will magically get rid of the fat, but I have to do these two other things. My wife said, that's a scam. You don't need the laser. What you need is the discipline. You need to do the actual work. So yeah, I compare this to AI right now. This is a lot of people, they want something quick and easy. Quick and easy does not exist. It might motivate you. You might buy the AI, and then the AI people say, well, we need to know your workflows and organized data. You might be motivated to do it, but if you don't do it, oftentimes the AI does not work. So
understandable. But so like if I am an individual person, I'm an individual lawyer. I'm assuming that you set these up for the corporate firms, right? You go to the corporate firms and sell this as a service to corporate firms, right?
So I already have all of the code. I can easily put it onto somebody's SharePoint. We set up the emails because I can't just send an email from your account. We need to set up a little Power Automate. It takes like 30 minutes for me to set this all up. But then the company you need to think through what are all the forms that we want, and you need to create your forms. Point and click and put your questions in place.
That's understandable. But like, if I was an individual lawyer and I wanted to adopt all of this, from where can I adopt all of this? Like, do I have to learn everything from scratch, or is this a plug and play situation where I can, use your
it's
code?
plug and play. It's plug and play. Like, I put the code on. I often, with my clients, they give me an account in their Office 365. So I come into a SharePoint and I just I copy and paste all the files and the code, and then or anybody in their company can come to this homepage. Here we go, intake. They can see the forms that exist. They can create a new one. They can filter by the different teams that exist. So then you would send your users to this specific URL. I'm going to click on this one, and there's a URL that's unique. It says form equals Y8, Y8. That is the URL you would give your user. Your user would never see that list of all the forms. They would just come to a specific form. I also have another product that I integrate in with this, and it's called Decision Tree. So some people, they don't know which form to go pick, right? It's like, give me some questions I can answer that will take me to the right form. So I do have another product. It's called Decision Tree. What it is you have basically like an Excel spreadsheet, and with like these parent and children kind of questions, and as you pick one, it will show the next level of the children kind of thing. And eventually we get to an end point where there's a form, and we can seamlessly just show the form right below. It is a beautiful experience. There's no switching to another web page. You just go through a series of drop downs with questions, and you answer them. And then just below it, your form just kind of appears. It's a beautiful experience. So yeah.
Any chance we can see it on screen right now?
I know I don't have it integrated into this. I did it with a couple other clients recently, so I cannot show their their environment because it's confidential. Possibly, let's see if I can put in Decision Tree. I have an example of this. Yeah, here it is. Okay, so maybe I'll make this bigger for you.
All of this is something that I can replicate myself from your code, right?
Yes, yeah. Maybe I'll show you how to edit it. But this is the user experience. They just have a drop-down menu where you ask them breakfast, lunch, dinner, and they say breakfast. And then the next drop-down menu comes, and they can select from pancakes, eggs, cereal. And if I say cereal, then the next drop-down comes, and it asks Cheerios or cornflakes. And if I say Cheerios, oh, there's nothing. If I say cornflakes, there's nothing. There is some. If I go to there it is. Okay, I got to pancakes and then maple syrup. This is an end point. This is where there is no further question, and it just says enjoy your pancakes with maple syrup. And if this was a form, I could I could show the form directly below this. I've done this with other clients. So you notice this right here is also another very simple thing that solves a big problem. I could show you the entire menu of all the possibilities in a spreadsheet, but users don't like that. It's too much. They don't want to see all the different options all at once. Imagine also like you show them different areas of law, different regulations, all the different issues inside of regulations, and then all of the different sub questions under those. If you were to show that to an end user, it would be a spreadsheet with thousands of rows, right? So instead, you could give them a user experience like this, where you ask them, okay, what is the jurisdiction you're interested in? Oh, I'm interested in this. Okay, what is the area of law? I'm interested in this area. Okay, which regulation inside this area of law? It's this one. And then you see, you can finally give them the answer. I also did it for, there was another department They did troubleshooting with like robots. So they sold robots to like some kind of a customer. And sometimes the robot would have an error. There was like a little screen, and the customer had to then call up customer support, and customer support would ask them, what kind of robot is this? Okay, what kind of error are you experiencing? Okay, what does it say on the screen? Okay, turn it off and turn it back on. Did that solve it? And then they would go through this. So I showed this to them and they said, we could just use this. This would get rid of our whole customer support department. So that's what they did. So yeah, anytime if you need to meet with somebody and you have to go through all these different questions and answers, just organize it. You can use simple, basic
This
stuff.
is something that I also see in like customer support of all the telephone services that we have here, or even the food delivery apps. Something very similar, probably more aesthetic, but something very, very similar to this. So in terms of like if I had to adopt this, is there any place where I can, go ahead, copy all the code? Like, do you have any repository sort of where I can go ahead and see all of your tools and then copy some of it in my workflow?
So I am creating this. There is a store inside of SharePoint. I think it's called the SharePoint store, and you can just go buy a web part. So I am packaging some of my tools so that you can just buy them directly off of the SharePoint store. The problem with this is that once you buy the code, you can't change it. You can't customize it. Like if you need to add some extra step, like in the intake, let's say at the very end of the intake, you want a PDF to be generated because you want to be able to take a PDF and send it to finance or whatever you need to do. But you see, that's an extra step. Some of my clients, they ask for these kinds of things. And so we build in these custom features that they need. If they were to buy it off of a SharePoint store, we can't do that. The code is locked down. So I often I often meet with clients and we find like their general things that they need, but then we need to ask, what are the extra things that you need? Often your problem is unique. You can't just buy. You need to know like what are the steps that you need. And then I'm able to customize it. So yeah.
Okay.
Custom is very important a lot of times.
It is customized at one point. Okay. But if I had to learn it, so whatever you have built so far, if I had to learn it, do you have any like videos on it? How did you build it up in first place? Or I could go ahead and set the minor things for myself.
Oh, you mean building the forms, pointing and clicking? So yeah, of course, I have like a 30-minute video that goes through like how to build a form. I have another 30-minute video that is for end users. Like this is how you fill in a form because people like to pretend that they're stupid. So you make a 30-minute video, how to fill in a form. So yeah, I have this. I thought you were asking, do you have tutorials how to build this from scratch, like from nothing? How did you build this? And I do have these kinds of tutorials. I have a podcast where I show all of my 60 different things. And I have some tutorials, how to get started, how to unlock SharePoint. And I show you how to do the most basic things, like how to put a button on there. And when you click that button, it creates data inside of SharePoint. And then I show you how to click another button and you can edit that data. So you need to be able to create data, retrieve data, update data, and delete data. These are called CRUD functions: create, retrieve, update, delete. Once you can do those 4 things with data, that's all you need. You can do everything. So you start learning something very, very basic, and then you can expand and you can create these huge complex tools. using just very fundamentally simple things.
That's amazing. Quickly,
Yeah.
can we have the link of that video in the chat box so that all of our viewers can be there?
Okay. It is at automateofficework.com. And I will show my website, automateofficework.com. I do offer consulting, which is just speaking with people. A lot of times people don't know how to begin. And if I can tell you the direction that you should go, I'm your imagination. I tell you what's possible. And then you begin. So that already is very valuable. I do offer these kinds of solutions, and I do offer education. So like I can meet with your organization and we begin like a culture of innovation. I do have a very very popular product with my customers. It's called Ideas Platform. Ideas. And because we need different ideas, like what are the problems that we need to solve? No one person knows them all. So you need to be able to gather everybody's ideas from your whole department. And again, no one person knows an entire problem. You see one part of a problem, somebody else experiences a different side of the same problem, but we need both of you to get together so you can describe what is this problem, and then you can describe the solution. Like there might be an easy solution. And then once you have all of these different ideas and we have it mapped out, like how simple the solution is, you might have then an innovation manager for your department, and your manager now has a list like, hey, we've got hundreds of things that everybody wants to do, and we know the top 3, and we know that they're simple. And now that innovation manager can go to the general counsel or to the department head and say, look, I have data. This is what we need to do. This is how we need to become better. And you notice everybody gets to participate. And then because everybody has participated, they are interested in adopting the solution. We can't just buy. We can't just have people buy random stuff for problems that they don't know. We need to get everybody involved. It needs to become a culture that we can all work on this together. And you notice with this ideas solution, we're not even talking about technology yet, because once you have an idea and you can describe it, you could take it to your IT department and say, hey, IT, here is our problem. Here's exactly what the solution looks like. Can you go either buy the solution or build it for us? And so a lot of lawyers, they ask me, can you teach me how to code? And I tell them, you don't need to know how to code. What you need is to be able to work in process. You need to be able to map out things, be able to describe it, and then you go find the people that build, okay? You go find a person like me. And my ideas platform, it is so beautiful because now when a customer is brand new and they first come to me, I often ask them, what is your problem that you want to fix? Sometimes they don't know. They're like, we don't know our problems. And then they ask me, can you interview us? You know, can you go talk with all the different, and I'm like, no, that's going to take so much time, so much money you have to pay me, when actually you could just put in place an ideas platform, and then you get it all together. And then they come to me with their top 3, and then we're ready just to go build. And it's beautiful. So yeah, I would offer this kind of a thing to you guys. I don't know much about much Vaquill. I imagine you are solving the challenges of law firms, and you often have to interview them and find out what they need, when instead you could offer this. I could sell this to you, and then you could even give it to your customers for free. And then your customers come to you with so many different things, and you make up money. You make more money in the number of projects. And then the projects are like described so well that you can easily build them. And then the people have been participating, so they're going to adopt it. It will be a success. Yeah. So yeah, I offer these solutions to so many people.
This is amazing. I would probably I would delegate my international clients to you if they ever want to automate their processes. This is something that is very out of the box that I've seen today. But there is one tool that you had that I heard
Oh,
a lot about. That was Spreadsheet Killer. Since we are running short on time, we will just have
sure.
a very small demo of it. But I would really like for you to show a small demo for the Spreadsheet Killer. I've
Okay.
heard very good things about it, by
Spreadsheet
the way.
killer. Oh, thank you. So yeah, I did show intake, and intake is one way to organize data. You notice that in intake, the data points are very complex. Potentially, you could have a different kind of a journey based on the different conditions. They say yes to something, no to something, so you get extra data points. If I was to show all of the different requests and then all of the different data points on, say, a spreadsheet, that spreadsheet is going to be very large with thousands of columns. So intake is not really, and plus, like when I'm looking at one intake request, I'm not going to compare it to another. I don't need to see how the different requests relate to each other. So intake is not relational. I don't really need a spreadsheet of all the data points. I might need like a very simple spreadsheet, like these are the different requesters, this is who's working on it, and this is the status, it's done. So you notice like that's like three columns. Okay. The other kind of thing that we're talking here about Spreadsheet Killer is when you really do need a spreadsheet. And this is data that is not just intake, but it's more like there's a life cycle to this data. Even after the requester fills in a form, all these data points might change. Think about like litigation. We know that there's some kind of a litigation that exists. Now, every month, I might need to get an update from the outside counsel, an update from finance, like how are we doing with money, an update from HR or from what is it, communications, because they have to worry about like what is the press saying about this litigation or whatever, you know. So this is data that can be updated even in the future. Okay. And I will show it. I did have a client that asked for this. They said we have our litigation worldwide is being stored in a spreadsheet. And I said, ooh, that's bad, because Excel is not a database. Excel has major problems with it. If you start an Excel spreadsheet, it's very easy for you. But then let's say you let the other departments know, like, hey, we've got a litigation spreadsheet. And finance says, ooh, can you add our finance columns? And then compliance wants to add some, and tax, and every other department. Soon you have hundreds of these columns. You have dozens of departments who all are interested in your spreadsheet. But if you give them edit access, you can't control what they edit. If you give any kind of access to someone, they can see all of the rows and all of the columns. Like, let's say I have somebody in Germany and I only want them to see the litigation for Germany. You can't do that in Excel. They see everything. And let's say if I have a legal column that I want to be confidential, I only want legal to see it. No, everybody sees everything. And once a person can edit, they can edit everything. And then once a person edits something, you can't control the data that they put in. Like if you're asking for a date, they can type in, I don't know. Are you guys still there?
Yeah, I'm still there.
Okay. Your cameras went away. Okay.
Yeah.
Then
I had to put it off for a second. If you're sharing your screen, I cannot see it though.
Okay, I'll go to Spreadsheet Killer. Spreadsheet Killer. Okay, so Spreadsheet Killer, it looks like a spreadsheet on the homepage. It looks like a spreadsheet. This is a web page that looks like a spreadsheet. First of all, we make a workflow. Data does not just go on. There's a process to put data onto it. There's a step for new matter intake. Then there's an initial review. Somebody needs to review the data that you put in. After that, there might be some approvals. Like, what if there's something that like finance needs to be notified? They need to come on. Like, there's some extra process they need to do because the risk is high. They need to then come to this system. They need to say that they approve this. They need to leave some comments. Because imagine in the problem with the spreadsheet, if there was a column for financial risk, low, medium, or high, and let's say one of the cells for financial risk, it just said high. And you're looking at that and you're like, well, I know finance needs to be notified. They need to look at this. They need to be aware. They need to go do whatever they do in their process. I don't know if they did it. All I can see is it says high. And so what do? We send an email. Hey, finance, I just saw it says hi on this spreadsheet. Are you aware of this? Did you know this? Did you go did you do your stuff? And what happens if they don't email or if they don't respond back? You're like, okay, I guess I have to chase them. And then they respond back and they either say, no, we weren't made aware, or they say, yeah, we already knew that. What happens a week later? It's the same spreadsheet. I see it says hi. I don't remember. I'm going to email them again. So you can't tell. There's no real record. There's no data of these things. So Spreadsheet Killer does this. I'm going to click on new. And when I click new, only certain people can click on new. We don't let everybody. We identify which departments can click on new and put in some new data. And then they have a form, and we have drop-down menus as much as possible. So you can't just put in garbage. We do have a jurisdiction, the Netherlands or the UK, because somebody is going to look at this later at the next step. And we need to know what is the jurisdiction, because it's either going to go to the Netherlands person or the UK person, as well as if we need to notify finance in which country. So this is a mandatory field. We need to know the jurisdiction. Okay, we've got color. We've got some comments where I just type in whatever. And once I start typing this, okay. Oh, here's that financial risk, low, medium, or high. And we've got files. Files are mandatory. So I'm going to upload something. Let's see, I'm going to take a picture of a cake. Okay. Oh, and I need to type in an email. Justin@email.com. And if I click on add, it's going to be looking up in my Outlook address book. And it should say, yeah, email address not found. So this has to be a person that's in there. Once I do submit this, I think I've been working on this, so I'm not actually going to submit it. I might have some other bugs. So I'm going to go to an existing one and show you what that looked like. Okay, do we have anything that is at, okay, this one's at initial review. Okay, I'll click on this one. So yeah, I'm notified. I'm the legal person who's notified, and I come to review this. And you see there's an alert. You have additional approvals required. See below and send them out, or undo the change that triggered this. Remember the financial risk being set to high? I think that's what it is. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to click on OK, and I'm going to look at this, and oh, it says financial risk set to low. There's something else. Maybe it's the color blue. If the color blue is set.
Probably the jurisdiction as well.
No, jurisdiction is just UK. There's well, there could be an escalation. Oh. Maybe there is a special thing for the UK, but yeah. I do have this person, finance reviewer. They are mandatory. I can also add more people, because maybe I'm looking at the situation and I say, well, not only finance, but I need treasury also. This is a special case. So I can always add more people. When I send it out for approvals, they come to here and then they review. They can edit their own financial columns, because maybe they decide, yeah, this financial risk isn't high. Let's set it to something else. But they can, because they're finance. So they can edit finance columns, of course. They can't edit anybody else's, but they can edit their own columns. We then capture their approvals and their comments. When the very last one is done, it then comes back for final review. And usually that's the initial reviewer, me again. And now, why do I need to review what the approvers said? Because they might say something interesting. They might say, I'm not the right person to review this, so I'm going to refuse this. And so I need to send it out for approvals again to somebody else. Or they might say, yeah, I'm the right person, but you should send this to somebody else too. We need to add another person. So, okay, I send it out. So this goes back to the approval stage. And once all the approvals are done, it comes back to me for final review. And you see it can go back and forth a few times. Once I'm finally satisfied with this, I put it into the matter tracked phase. So then the data is complete. It is now visible on the spreadsheet, but now that data can still be updated. Remember, I wanted finance to come every month and make updates if they need to. Well, when they make a change, I'm going to look down here. Yeah, I have nothing in the log. Let's see. I wonder if I can, I'm going to go to one that is actually done and ready. Okay, yeah, this one's done and ready. It's got a shield with a check mark. Now you see I have a view tab and an edit tab. If I'm on view, I can't change this, I just view. But if I click on edit, I can edit all the columns that I have edit rights for. I'm an admin, so I can edit everything. And now if I change this from green to red, and I click on save, it is down here at the very bottom. I have a log. It would appear. Maybe I need to refresh. Yep. Okay. It should have come up immediately. I had a bug. Okay. So it says here, this person on this day and time. Yeah. This person on this day and time edited the details. Color is now red. So I can come here and I could see a history of everything anybody has done. I can also see a history of all the approvals. This person from finance approved. They left these comments. I can see everything. So this is so much better than a spreadsheet. You don't need to automate the emails. An AI is not needed here. What's needed is we need to structure our data in a better way. I put a post on LinkedIn yesterday. It's not the emails that we need to automate. It's the data points that are in the emails that then need to go into like a database, into like a spreadsheet where there's a structure of all the data. It's not just emails.
This also reduces all the things that I had to read through the emails and then, put it in the database and all of it. So it's
were you in the middle?
A lot on the time, right? But thank you so much for sharing your insights. I'm sure that our listeners now have like practical ideas to start automating their work. I'm sure that I would be adopting a lot of these as well. But if my audience had to connect with you or learn more about Automate Office Work, where can they connect you?
Come to my website, automateofficework.com. I've got a big book a call button. You go down a little bit, it says find me on LinkedIn. You can read more about me. I do have my own podcast I've been doing for almost a year. So I have tons and tons of content. I show you all of my projects that I have built. I often show you how to get started yourself because I was a beginner once also, and I figured out how to do this. I do have the attitude that if I can do it, anybody else can do it also. So I kind of view my solutions they're not really that secret, because if you can see what I do, you can go build it yourself too, because I built it myself. So why can't somebody else just go create their own web page? Like I don't have a moat protecting my market, right? My market then is educate people, let them know the possibilities that are possible, and then you go and do it yourself if you want to. But I'm also imagining most people don't have that drive. They're not crazy enough to do it themselves, right? So then, now that they know it's possible, they will ask me to do it. So yeah. So I very often I share what I do. I do have a link up here. It says past projects. You click on here and it goes through all of my 60 plus projects. You can see everything. And there are often links to podcasts, videos, and articles. So this will get your imagination going. I always tell my clients, like, look over my list, but do not become so fixated on these solutions because your situation is going to be unique. Often you can't just buy and use something. We need to know your situation. So don't turn off your brain. Use this as a way to spark ideas, and this is going to start our conversation. Okay.
That's true. That's true. Okay. Amazing,
Same thing
Justin.
with AI.
I'm really glad that we had this conversation today. I hope my audience can take a lot of information from this podcast. We'll be uploading this on YouTube very, very soon.
Okay.
Again, really glad that you were here, and I'll be using some of these. I'll probably connect more with you on LinkedIn as well, like post this call for some of the services. But yeah, and
let's connect.
that's a wrap. We'll be closing this podcast in about a couple of minutes, and thank you so much for coming.
All right, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Anytime, just Priyansh, are you still here?
Yes.
Okay. Let's cut this call then.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Okay. Bye, Justin.
Bye. So is there a possibility we could collaborate?
Oh yeah, definitely. But in what sense?
So like I already do work with other consultants. They need these kinds of tools. The consultants, they often meet with a client, and the consultants, they tell the client, you need to buy these really big tools. And often consultants, they help with implementing technology. At the same time, a lot of clients, they say, no, we're not ready. It's too expensive. So then the consultants that I work with, they then bring in my tools and they say, okay, well, you have SharePoint. Let's just start doing something basic. And we already have this guy, Justin. He can take his code. We have a fixed price just to put the code onto your SharePoint. If you need further customization, then we can do further, like hourly charge or whatever.
Sure. So the way that my work goes is I work with two different sets of people. First is the student group. I mentor them through their law schools. And the second is the clients that I actually work with, like in terms of contracts and all. These are some of the very small contracts that I offer them as a service. However, we are about to expand very soon. So if I do receive a client who is trying to, expand into adopt an AI tool or probably automate their services, I would definitely recommend your name. We can discuss more on what kind of pitch that you would be giving, or if there is any document that you have to send over to your clients, you can always send it over to me, and then I can probably forward them to my clients. But as of now, if I'm being very honest, my client base is not something that is looking to automate work, but rather they are more into adopting a paralegal service sort of. So probably this is not the platform that I would be recommending them.
Okay.
As of now.
So I'm imagining that I have a stereotype of the culture of India, that you are able to offer human services at a low cost. So yeah. And this is exactly Cool.
what Vaquill is doing. So while we are making it accessible for people all over the country, because essentially what has happened in our country is that all the legal information is present in only two languages, that is English and Hindi. But there are more than 100 languages that are being spoken in India. And a lot of people are there that do not even understand either of these languages, right? So legal information is something that should be accessible to everyone. It should not be restricted. And that is what we were solving as a platform. But we realized that we had to get into something that generates revenue. And that is where we started outsourcing our work, not outsourcing, but taking up works from like different international firms and then providing our services to it.
Uh-huh. Then I would suggest that you look at your own processes for intaking the clients, and you give them forms as much as possible. So I'm imagining that you have to sit down with a client and then you have a discussion for like an hour, and this takes a lot of your time. And maybe a lot of times the answer is no at the end anyway. So it might be better for you to put some kind of a form in place. They answer the basic questions, and then we see that they're ready, and then they make a meeting with you.
Right. So usually how the workflow for me went was that I would ask them these questions in the meeting itself. But you are right in that respect that I could probably take this intake form and, you know, cut short on all these compliances that I'm doing, all these extra work that I'm doing, and just have people who are actually interested in it. This is something that I can look into. I would again go through one of your podcasts and see if I can set it up myself. But then if I'm unable to, I will surely reach out to you.
Okay. And this is a major reason why I made my podcast. It's to save time, because if I meet with a customer and I have to tell them about 60 different solutions, it's a waste of my time. But I can record, I can say it once, and then I give them the list and say, hey, look at this list. If there's anything interests you, you want to look into it deeper, go ahead. And then you meet with me when you know what you want to talk about. So you might think about doing that with your own products. I don't know how many kinds of services you offer, but make videos about them, make content.
Right. Yeah, sure. Content making is something that I'm trying to get into. It's a little hard, but yeah, I think you got a very big head start on me at this point. I'm really glad that you could, you know, get into content creation space. I was not very comfortable with camera at first, like probably like maybe 2 years ago. But I'm really glad that someone who is so senior to me has already gotten into this content creation space.
Oh, good. Yeah, because I also felt inadequate in my skills, of course. Like making videos and podcasts, like the very first video that you make, you will not like it. You're like, I don't like how I look. I don't like my voice. I look bad. You have to get over it, and then you get skills the more you do something.
I know, right? I just started with like doing some informational content on Instagram, like small reels on legal information, and all of this is so overwhelming. I mean, I do understand that it's not supposed to be aesthetic in the first place, but then again, seeing yourself on a different screen and then seeing and listening to your voice, all of this is like a little too overbearing. But we are gradually making progress. I hope it works out.
Yeah.
Perfect. Then. So we'll wrap this up, and I'll be in constant touch with you, probably mostly to fix up this intake form. But yeah, and let's close this.
Okay.
Have a good day.
And then I'll talk with you on Friday. I think you're coming onto my podcast.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. See you guys.
See you. Good night.